Hi, this is Beb. As the title says, this is not really a devlog, as I'm going to talk about a game that is already kind of finished. It was my very first game ever, and my main objective with this project was to start learning game development. I wanted to make a small game from start to finish within a limited amount of time, just to see how it feels and how much work it needs. Oh, and a disclaimer before we start. Game development is just a hobby for me, and my goal is just to have fun making games during my spare time. Nothing more. This game is called XomoX. You can play it for free on itch.io and GameJolt. It's a puzzle game with elements of a 3D platformer. You play a maintenance robot sent to an unstable gravity experimental site, which is turned upside down. Your objective is to find your way through the site using gravity anomalies at your own advantage, get to the gravity core and stabilize it. Oh, by the way, XomoX is not the name of the robot. The robot is B247. If you want to know who or what is XomoX, you'll have to finish the game yourself. When I decided to try making a game, I decided to use Unreal 5, simply because of the blueprint system, which was really appealing to me, as I didn't have any particular coding skills. I started with a couple of attempts on different genres that did not go very far. In particular, I tried a walking simulator happening in a mysterious empty space station, and an investigation game in which you play a mouse. When I started XomoX, I had the idea to do something more simple and basic. The core mechanic of the game is around gravity. You can find several anomalies all along the levels, which will alter your own gravity, and you can use these to reach the end of the level, which is a teleporting pad going to the next one. Originally, I started coding a custom character in C++ because I wanted to have control on the gravity of the character. I quickly realized that this is not so simple. I was struggling with the orientation of the capsule, of the mesh of the character, and while searching online for some hints, I found a free plugin that saved my life. I think I would have simply give up without it, to be honest. I had no experience in C++, and coding a whole character movement component was just way out of my skills. This plugin is truly amazing, and I cannot recommend enough to check this out. It was made by Usin Menik. It's freely available on GitHub, and it does exactly what I was looking for. I simply had to expand from it to get the core mechanics of my game. I've used this plugin in order to create blueprints for my gravity anomalies, which change the gravity of the character. I also created a version with some time delay so you can move a bit around before it activates, or have a version for which you can modify the direction using a control console in the level. I also made some small planetoids within their own attraction radius so that you can jump from one to another, with the possibility to invert the gravity power so that the planetoid pushes the character away. In the later levels, the character will find two extra tools, a jetpack and grav boots, which allows for more complex movements and puzzles. It was great fun to play and expand on this plugin. And for a first game project, it was perfect for me to build up from a very solid piece of code. I did learn a lot in the process. The assets in the game are essentially all homemade. Blender has been a hobby for a couple of years now. I'm using it mainly to make short movies, again, just for fun. You can find this in a playlist on this channel, by the way. I did model my own character mesh, rig it, and create the various animations. The model is quite simple, and animating a robot is always much more easy than a more organic character. However, the rig has some organic deformations, particularly on the main body, in order to make the character a little bit more human during its movement. I also made my own materials. I created shaders in Blender and baked them into textures that I could use in Unreal to create a new material. Baking textures in Blender can be very tedious, and for this I use Simple Bake, which is a great add-on that makes the whole process faster. It's a paid add-on. from the Blender market, but it's reasonably priced, and I think it's worth the price. Learning how to export correctly from Blender to Unreal was not a piece of cake. I tried many add-ons for this, followed many tutorials, and my personal conclusion is simply to do this by hand with the correct export settings. Here are the one I use, just in case it can be helpful. I don't include textures in the exports. I do bake them and reconstruct materials inside Unreal later. You just need to plan all the material slots and the UVs before exporting your models. For the sound effects, I mainly use freesound.org as a main source. This is an amazing website with zones of free sounds under the Creative Commons license. On the occasion, I do create my own sound effects using either by recording or using synthesizers. In particular, I like to use VCV Rack to generate funny sounds. These water drops you can hear in the background when you arrive at the second half of the game is completely generated by a patch in VCV. Oh, by the way, VCV is once again a free software. Additionally, I also did use some sounds from some cheap packs I got on the Unreal Store, but to be honest, this is just to save some energy, and it seems to me that it can be avoided. Finally, I tried to make my own musics. These are pretty basic and not very polished. For XomoX, there is only music on the title screen, and it's directly taken from one of my Blender short movies. Now that I talk about it, the fact that many aspects of the game is homemade is really part of the fun for me. This is it. I think I gave an overview of what I used to make this game. Just let me know if you want more information on a particular aspect. I won't be able to make tutorials or anything like this. I don't have the skill for this, but I can certainly explain in details how I did some specific parts. All along, it took me around 5 months to make XomoX. Of course, it's very far from polished, and it's full of game design mistakes and other problems. I could definitely spend much more time on it. But it was not the original plan. It was just a test and an excuse to start learning Unreal and game development in general. A couple of days ago, I did start a new project. And this time I intend to be slightly more serious about it. It's a bit too early to talk about it yet, but hopefully it will be the subject of the next video, so maybe next time will be a genuine devlog. Thank you so much for watching this video, have a nice day, take care.